You're all very welcome this afternoon, and I'd like to welcome you. My name is Rebecca Roper, and we are here today for the FYMMO File Your Matters Moving On programs, the journey to postgraduate success, business and humanities. Today's session will be led by Louisa Keogh, who is the FYMMO coordinator here in IADT, and she will introduce the panel, and I hope that we have a great session, and thank you all very much for coming.
Great, thank you so much, Rebecca. As Rebecca said, she'll be looking after the chat as well today. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, please pop them in the chat and we can make some time at the end to answer your questions or concerns. So yeah, as Rebecca kindly introduced me, my name is Louisa Keogh and I'm the Final Year Matters Moving On coordinator here at IADT. You're all very welcome. Thank you so much to our lovely panel for taking time out of their very busy schedules to join us today. So yeah, for this webinar, we really wanted to demystify the process of applying for postgraduate programs by finding out more about the process of assessing them. And we have a really fantastic lineup of professionals in the business and humanities sector to chat with us today about what assessment can look like in their programs and how you can do your best work where it kind of matters most. So please join me in welcoming our panel. So we have Professor John Cullen from Maynooth University. We have Laura Keeley and Marie Mulvey joining us from UCD Smurfit School of Business. We have our very own Dr. Therese Moylan from IADT Dún Laoghaire here. We have Dr. Jana Liatzos from University of Limerick, and we have Dr. Paul Delaney from Trinity College Dublin. So as I said, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. And so yeah, I'll kind of kick it off just if you would like to maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves, your job and the kind of applications you assess. So I might start off just by order of my screen here. Laura, if you'd like to start us off there, please. Thank you.
Hi everybody, so my name is Laura Keeley and I'm the admissions manager at the UCD Smurfit Business School. So within my role, I look after the applications for all our master programs. So at our school, we've 23 MSc programs in lots of different areas of business. So my job is if you have any questions about applying or the application or the master programs, I'd be able to give you advice. So really looking forward to all your questions today and answering them and giving you all some advice on applying to master programs. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Therese, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Therese Moylan here. I'm the Department of Entrepreneurship, head of the Department of Entrepreneurship in IADT. We currently have 3 master's programs in the area of cultural event management, business equality, diversity and inclusion, and on digital entrepreneurship, and I would see all of the applications and be involved in the process, particularly at the decision-making stage for all of those. So very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you so much, Therese. Jana, would you like to speak a little bit about it?
Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. Hello everyone, my name is Jana Liatzos. I am the course director of the MA in English at the University of Limerick. It's a really wonderful master's and I look forward to receiving your applications. And just as a heads up, because I will be leaving early and I may not be here for the Q&A that will follow the tail end of this webinar, you're very welcome to email me any questions that you may have that may not get answered otherwise during this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Jana. And Paul, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello everyone, my name is Paul Delaney and I'm an associate professor in the School of English in Trinity. I'm former head of the department here and I'm currently the Director of Postgraduate Professional Development. And as part of my role in that capacity, I'd oversee the provision of teaching on our 4 MPhil programs, and I'm also part of the admissions panel for our research and postgraduate applications.
Great, thank you so much, Paul. And John.
Hi everyone, thanks a million Louisa for inviting me. My name is John Cullen and I'm a professor at Maynooth University School of Business. And within academic business schools, the members of staff tend to want to practice some form of additional management and service of their employers. So there's usually a lot of competition to take on additional roles on top of our research and teaching. So as a result of that, I'm the director of postgrad teaching and learning in the School of Business. But up until just about 2 months ago, I was also Dean of Graduate Studies for the university. So I hope to be able to provide a kind of a broader sense of the type of applications I've processed at a range of different levels. And I suppose it's interesting because within our suite of master's programs, we have master's programs that are for students who come from a business background, but a lot from students who don't come from business backgrounds themselves. I know we've 2 English departments here. One of my masters is in English as well, because that's my background originally. So there's a lot that you can learn from all the different areas. In terms of the type of applications that I've assessed, I've processed applications for very short programs like micro-credentials, postgrad certs, right up to masters. And I suppose especially over the last couple of years, I've been involved in looking at doctoral applications as well. So the entire suite. Thanks very much. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, John. And last but definitely not least, Mairead.
Thank you, Louisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Mairead Mulvey, and I'm also an admissions manager in the UCD Smurfit Business School. I look after the 2 MBA programs that we have there. One is full-time and one is part-time, the Executive Modular MBA. I offer guidance, support, advice to anyone making applications, taking them through the process and basically helping them in any way about informing them about the programs and the criteria, what they need and what their likely learning outcomes will be. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much. I think this is going to be a really rich discussion. I remember when I was doing my undergrad here at IADT, the word postgrad was kind of looming on the horizon, and that was kind of dashed down when I graduated in 2020 into the pandemic. But I do vividly remember that slight level of intimidation. So I think learning about the assessment process is such an important part of that, and I think it'll definitely kind of open a lot of doors for our undergrads here at IADT. So I think first things first, I know you mentioned the types of applications, that you might have assessed in the past or assessing currently. What does the process of assessment look like? I understand it may vary from course to course and application to application, but on a general scale, what does the process of assessment look like for you?
I can go. I apologize. I didn't realize that we were answering that question. I thought we were merely introducing ourselves. So I just to backpedal a little bit, I am an associate professor of English at the University of Limerick, and I have been for the past 3 years, so the tail end of the pandemic, and since everything has returned to normal pretty much. And I find myself assessing applications predominantly from the humanities and the social sciences, though most of the international applications that arrive at my doorstep are from many different fields, including English as a second language, some business, with a particular emphasis on tourism. I see that some of the applicants have a tourism-focused background, and the way I'm assessing those applications that do not have a more readily founded humanities or social science background is to look for life experience more generally, that may indicate, kind of like John mentioned earlier, that there is some kind of desire to acquire a humanities degree or an interest in literature, or having done some form of undergraduate thesis, or having had some kind of focus in that direction. And I also If there is none of that, I still don't turn the application away, but I do at that stage then look for an interview to gauge the full awareness of the applicant for what they're what they're applying to embark upon, because I find that sometimes there is a misunderstanding of what is entailed in pursuing a postgraduate degree in English.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I think that that meeting point of personal life experience and academic is really interesting and really strong in postgrad applications. Thank you so much, Jana. And would anyone else like to touch on that?
Could I just say that it's the process is actually very straightforward in Maynooth, or at least I think it is. I suppose there's a few different aspects of the assessment. There's the application end of things. First of all, I'm just going to stick in the chat a link through to our postgrad program. So, which is misspelled there, of course. Which is when you look at this, try and find the program. We're trying to connect you, our applicants, with the right program for them. So that's actually part of the assessment for you as well. Identify the program that you're interested in. Some of these are for students who have business backgrounds, some have no business backgrounds whatsoever. So explore those when you go through. If you have any questions, you'll see on that link as well, there's a list of program directors. Email the program directors directly. Come to our open day, which I think is on March the 5th this year. I can put in a link to when that's on. Or if you're a final year student at the moment, you can email me directly. I'll put my email address if you want as well, because we have on the 5th of December a very short kind of pizza social event where you can mingle with the program directors in the School of Business in Maynooth, get in and have a chat to them, see whether it's right for you. And then once you've decided what that is, click through to we still use the PAC application system where you get on there and you register and you log in. On the assessment side of things, then, our graduate admissions office look at the baseline criteria that are listed for each program. Do you need a 2-2 for this program? Do you need 2-1? If your English isn't your native language, what level of English do you need? They'll check for that information, and we return to you for further information or not if you need be on turn. So just make sure you're very clear on what the criteria are when you're applying for them. References are important. You're usually asked for 2, maybe 1 from your work experience. If you're putting in an academic reference, and I can't state this as clearly enough, make sure that they're going to know who you are. Contact them beforehand rather than going, I don't know, they were in a large class and I saw them, at the lectures, but I don't, make sure somebody, if you do have a relationship with a lecturer, in an academic sense, know them enough. Make your academic reference somebody who can genuinely comment on you and your engagement. And in your letter of application, I think this is really important. Rather than trying to impress by, saying that you're, how keen you are on things, talk about what genuinely appeals to you specifically about the program, because it's in our interest to match you to the right program just as much as it is to yours. So this is actually one of the main things that we're trying to assess too, I suppose, also is to ensure that you're happy within the program, because you become part of that program and you become part of a community of learners, if you like, at the same time. So sorry, there's a few different things there. That's the type of things that we look at. And I suppose just coming from the assessment side to the other side in turn, I'll put in a few of the links that I mentioned there as well.
That's great, John. Thank you so much. Paul, you have your hand up there, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Louisa. And I suppose just picking up, although John and I are in very different disciplines in different universities, the situation would be quite similar. And I think Jana as well. The process in Trinity for English, but I think more generally across the board, is very, very streamlined. Everything is done online. There's a very particular portal to go through. It's all very simple, and everything is uploaded through that portal. So it's all very, very, very simple and straightforward. One thing I would really encourage, and just following up from John, would really be to reach out to colleagues that you find who are involved in that program. We have 4 different programs here, which are quite different, and it's really important, I think, to reach out and to get individual engagement. You'll find that colleagues are very happy to help, are very happy to give advice, and particularly for one of our 4 programs, which they're all very highly competitive. One we have on creative writing, which fills up very, very, very quickly. And it's always heavily oversubscribed. But it's very important, I think, to reach out to colleagues who teach on that program. I think myself as a student, I remember I would have been quite anxious, perhaps reaching out to somebody. But I think once you're on the other side of the desk, you realize that's not the case at all.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I think that's really interesting and really helpful now as well, because I always thought when I was an undergrad, the thought of kind of networking or chatting to people maybe who weren't my direct kind of peers, I always found very intimidating. But yeah, absolutely. I think just a simple hello, I'm interested in this goes a really long way for both the student and the professional. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. Laura, please start away.
Thank you. So similar process as well at the UCD Smurfit Business School. So how you make an application is directly through our website. So all our master programs, you can directly apply there. When we're looking at an application, we do look for your transcripts. So one of the questions we do get asked a lot is, can you apply before you finish your degree? And that's absolutely fine. So what we do need to see is just your results to date. So that's your grades and also the modules that you've taken. And similar to what John was saying at our school as well, you don't have to have a business undergrad degree to do a lot of our masters too. So that's why we ask for the transcripts to see your kind of grades and the modules that you've studied as well. We do also have a CV that's required too, and 2 essay questions, but it is very straightforward, the process. But the main thing is to do your research before you apply. So I know we've mentioned, going to open days. So like we have our open day tomorrow at our school. You can talk to current students. So on our website, we have Ask a Student. So you can directly link in with students that are studying on the program. And, one of the reasons why you do a master's is your career. So it's really important to think about, what you want to do after the master's as well. And that's going to help you with your application, because one of the questions that we ask is, what do you want to do after the master's? Where do you see your career? So doing all the research before you're applying as well will actually help you when you make your application too. But as we all mentioned, there are people that you can talk to, at Smurfit, our admissions team. You can reach out to us directly, coming to our open days, talking to students. So there's lots of communication points there, and we are here to help.
That's brilliant, Laura. Thank you so much. And just on the topic, you mentioned CVs there, and with Smurfit as well. Our careers officer, Dawn O'Connor, will help you with your CV, all IADT students. Dawn is located on the 2nd floor of the library. She's got a little office there, just the back of the library around the study desks. And she has one-to-one CV clinics, so she can mentor you through all of everything that we're speaking about today. And Dawn can act as a really good bridge as well. If you do find it quite intimidating, maybe to reach out to folks who are working with postgraduate applications or assessments or anything like that, or department heads, Dawn can be a great bridge to help you get in touch with folks like that. Therese, please.
Yeah, just maybe to reiterate some of the points, but I mean, in our own case, it's application through the website. We're not on the PAC system. We use applications directly. What I would say, I think it is very important to pick up on what some of the colleagues were saying. I think doing the homework on the kind of masters that you want to do and where you see that taking you is an important step. I think at that piece of I suppose both thinking and research around where you think it fits in and what you think your ambitions are is important, because it is, let's face it, it is a big investment for people. It's an investment in time and finance and energy. So you want to find yourself doing something that you really engages you and that you can see the direction it is taking you in. So I think that's an important part of the precursor. And I suppose, I'd also say don't feel the pressure to do it immediately in the September that after you come out of college. It might be a good idea just to take stock and to take time before you get back into study. So like we would see our applications come, yes, we have them direct from graduates, but we also have them for people who are out maybe a couple of years, have had experience and are possibly maybe informed, a little bit more informed in terms of where they want to go with it. So I think that time some people are very fortunate and they know exactly the trajectory they're going on. Personally, I was a roundabout person. I went around lots of roundabouts before I ended up where I am now, and I personally always found that little bit of experience gave me time and distance to think about what I wanted to do. But if you're lucky to know where you want to go for it, do the research and make sure that your application reflects that, because I think sometimes I don't know if any of the colleagues have seen, you get very generic applications and it could be to anything, and I don't think that does you yourself a huge favor. So do make sure that you do have to tailor the application, and it's not about playing the game to tailor it. It's about tailoring it to your needs and where you want to go. So I think that's an important piece of the process, that you need to do that thinking yourself at the outset.
That's great, Therese. Thank you so much. And Marie, have you anything to add there just on assessing MBA applications?
Not so much, Louise, just to reiterate what all the panel have said about being specific as you can in terms of why you're applying and why you want to do a course, and then reaching out to ask for any help or advice or guidance that you need during the application process. To be fair, the MBA isn't probably a programme that's entirely relevant to the vast majority of the audience today, simply because you need to have a minimum of 3 to 5 years professional experience postgraduate before you qualify to do it. So as I said, it might be of interest to some people down the line or to hear a bit about it today, but it's probably just not as relevant to today's audience as my other colleagues.
Thank you so much. I think that's really interesting that everyone here had the theme of having life experience, having that research done, really thinking about what postgraduate you'd like to do and why you'd like to do it. Because I remember thinking back, I was chatting to some students and we were chatting about pathways, and they were actually speaking about their thesis, and they were like, oh, I'm most looking forward to it, but it's a big challenge for me as well. And I remember speaking with my peers at the time, and they said, do your thesis on something you really, really like, because you're going to have to work at it. And I think a postgrad is really the same, and you have to sit down, do your research, think about what you want from it, and I think taking time is a really important factor in that. But yeah, are there any other kind of key factors that people should consider when they are filling out their applications, or maybe you have like an ideal application in mind that you've assessed, that you would say has the kind of perfect criteria?
If I could just say quickly, I think that there's 3 things. One is understanding the program goals. We talk about things like graduate attributes, I think, in our sector a lot. But what does this mean? This is the kind of person, rather than, would you say employee or professional, but the kind of person that you want to see coming through at the end. Sometimes candidates put so much effort into trying to say why they are so excellent that you wonder why they need a master's at all, if they're applying for it. We just really need to see how you understand what the program is and how you'll be different at the end of it. The second thing is understanding the program structure. Does the candidate understand the type of modules that they're going to be taking? Do they have a clear sense of what the workload will be and how it'll be will be undertaken? When you think about when you're doing a master's, it's a step up from where you are at your undergraduate education. I don't know how this maps directly, but you're kind of qualification-wise, you're halfway between your undergraduate degree and a PhD. So there's another level, that you're going to be a bit more serious about. So the final bit of it would be, understanding the program delivery. Therese used that word investment, and I think agree with Therese that it's not just a financial investment. Perhaps the most important one is an investment of your time, but it's also how you invest your time. Does the candidate get that this will be the biggest personal project that they're going to be taking on when they're doing it? It's really just for a short period of time, usually maybe a year or two. So do they understand that other projects, like we all have personal commitments and work commitments and everything, and that's fine. But everything else that you're doing, will they become secondary to while you're doing it? This is a big undertaking. Like, you're doing your postgrad, changes your career course or it enhances your career course. It's really about becoming the person who you really want to be, but have felt that there are reasons why you couldn't have gotten there in the past. It's the personal development aspect of it is really, really important, which is why it's really good to see when people make an application and they say, I'm here in my career, I haven't, enjoyed my work in the past, or I have enjoyed certain aspects of it. There's courses that I've done that have benefited me to some extent, but there's something else that I want. And knowing where the program will fit and getting somebody moving along into a more kind of sustainable future for themselves, that's really what we want to see. It's just about, you're not trying to impress that you could have the masters, but that you're the right person for it, and that's what really makes a difference, I think.
That's great, John. Thank you. Definitely not something you can do spontaneously anyway, that's for sure. Paul, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm actually, just to pick up on something Therese said as well, actually, she talked about really a non-generic application and flipping that around from less in terms of the applicant, but rather the person reading the application. That is absolutely fundamental for us, whether it's at master's degree level or at MLit or PhD level. We expect applications that are bespoke. Basically, we want to see why a student wants to come to study with us in Trinity rather than in one of the other sister universities here or across the water. That we have certain strengths in the School of English, which are long established research and teaching strengths. We have certain things available to us in Trinity, particularly through the library collection, which are very specific to Trinity. Each of our degree programs, our master's degree programs, are bespoke, and they've been very carefully designed. They're curated in very particular ways, and they make certain expectations and demands of students. And the expectation is that any applicant will have engaged with that, and consequently, any application is reflective of that. If it's a more generic application, I'm afraid generally they're not as favourably considered.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul. Jana, would you like to hop in there?
Just to take a little bit of the other side of the coin, I completely agree that the ideal application is very much a bespoke application that shows awareness of the program and the details of it, what the different researchers in the faculty are working on, what is available in our libraries, and all of these details. At the same time, I want to say something that I think also speaks to where I was when I was applying for the NMA. And I did my entire education in the United States, so a very different process, quite different. But nonetheless, at the time that I was applying, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted. But what was fundamental was that I had a very genuine curiosity that the BA had not fulfilled, had not put to rest. And I wanted to learn more. And I really wanted to take my, absolutely exactly like John said, my personal time, my commitment for the ensuing 1, 2, whatever years the program would be in that direction. And I think that can be very moving as well. An applicant who may not have the perfect background, who may not have the perfect grades even, but has a real genuine passion and commitment. And again, that is where interviews become invaluable for gauging that kind of commitment, can really work very nicely. Can really create a solid MA application, even with those lacunas in their text, in their application. And I have, in my experience, and I have taught postgraduate on the postgraduate level for over half my life at this point, I have seen students who don't have that kind of background come through and be excellent students and excel and find their passion and actually go on to create fabulous PhDs even. So yes, absolutely, the bespoke application, it's wonderful, and a very solid awareness of what the department has to offer is wonderful, and a beautiful writing style is great as well. And at the same time, if the commitment and the passion is there, that and it's genuine. If a student is aware of the investment that they're about to embark on and is ready to make it, I think that they can produce a pretty convincing and good application for the program. Yeah,
that's great. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Jana. I think a kind of overarching theme is that it really is about the individual and their kind of passion and drive towards the study they want to achieve. That's great. Thank you so much, folks. Laura or Mairead, would you like to maybe hop in? No pressure at all, if not. But
yeah, no, just to like reiterate what everybody's saying, it's really to when you're doing the application is to make sure that you cover all the parts as well, because we do a rolling basis on our application. So if you don't submit something, it goes right back to the start. So again, you want to make sure that you're not losing out on time or anything like that. So making sure that you have all the application completed as well, that's quite important. With our application at the school, we do ask for 2 questions, and that's really to show if the student is motivated and if this is the right program and fit as well for the applicant. So I think what everybody is kind of saying with the bespoke application, making sure that you're answering the questions that are asked, and also just making sure it's fully completed as well, because you don't want to submit an application and then we have to get back and ask for more information as well. So you want to make sure that you've answered everything within the application itself too.
That's great. Thank you so much. And Mairead, would you like to add anything?
Sorry, Louisa. No, everybody has covered, I think, all bases there. So yeah, I'm okay.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Therese, sorry, with your hand up there.
Yeah, I think that issue of fit is actually very important, and I mean you may not you may not hit all of the boxes, but it doesn't necessarily mean you won't be the right fit. And I think it's important to and it's important for the institution, because I think we need to make sure that we've the right people in the right places, and that it's going to be, if you like, a springboard for this person to do something else or to grow and develop. So that piece about fit is I think very important, and sometimes that sometimes that can be slightly undefinable. You know, and you know, if there's questions, I mean, we would always reserve the right to have an interview, if we think, you know, there's something here and we need to have a chat and figure out where you are. So I think fit is good. But I mean, I think as a potential student, there's an onus on you to do a little bit of your homework around that. Go and visit the campuses, take up the opportunities of the open days, and that thing, Louisa. We do talk to students. We're very amenable to answer an email from someone who's interested in a program, or have a cup of coffee, you know, all things being equal, time permitting. Or, you know, the program chairs will absolutely do that. So don't be afraid to knock on the doors and say, here, I'm interested. I like the look of what you're doing. Can we have a chat? And ultimately, it's about getting the fit. We want happy students who grow and develop and progress within their programs, and you want to grow and progress within the choices that you make. So it's about getting that piece together.
100%, Therese. Thank you so much. I absolutely agree. I think taking that feeling of fear away from approaching your lecturer as a department or anyone is really the main thing. And I think it goes back to that old saying that I used to hear in school all the time, when nobody's looking to make you fail or mark you hardly. We're all here to help each other strive, and definitely those in postgrad applications and assessments, they're only there to help. So I definitely think taking that level of intimidation away is really key, and hopefully a big takeaway that everyone can take away today. So just in speaking of kind of striking that balance between the personal and the kind of academic in filling out applications, how big a part does academic writing play in applications in general? Oh, if you'd like to work away, thank you. Oh, sorry, you're on mute there.
There you go. I was the first person to do it. I'll go first. Well, for us, it's absolutely fundamental. Absolutely, like, the expectation we would sometimes, generally for students applying and taking up a place with us, we would expect students to have a 2-1 or first. Sometimes we would make provision and allow for a student who perhaps didn't perform as strongly if there are mitigating circumstances, and things do happen, of course, in the final year, and we are very understanding to that, and we certainly have done so in the past and will continue to do so. At the same time, I suppose one way then in which we gauge a student's abilities and potential is through that piece of academic writing. So for us, it's absolutely fundamental. For some of our programs, you need to submit 1 piece. For some other programs, you need to submit 2. But we would also, in fairness, read the entire application as a piece of academic writing, so that sometimes, you can see a considerable mismatch between a letter of application and an essay which has been polished within an inch. And that obviously raises alarms. So I would say, the entire piece really should be considered as an example of academic writing.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And would anyone else like to pop in on that subject? I
think what we see on business programs is and the examples that we have from the world of business is that it's more your ability to delegate and communicate clearly that is important, I think, to be successful in management practice. So academic writing certainly is important. You won't be punished for doing very well. But when we have had students who have struggled with writing, but we have an excellent writing centre here in Maynooth as well, who are very, very strong at supporting it. So if a student does have I remember seeing this on an application before, a student declaring at the outset, look, I've had dyslexia that was undiagnosed for a long period of my life, but I'm not letting that stop me, and actually turned out to be one of the clearest and really expressive communicators that I'd met in their writing as well. So it's important, but something that can be worked on and certainly can be supported within the university. That's great, and that's a really great point as well, John. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Could I just jump in very quickly? Just a tiny anecdote. There's a very famous story of how William Butler Yeats, when he was a young man, applied for a professorship at Trinity College, professorship in English, and he misspelt professorship. And it was one of the reasons why apparently he was, I'm sure it wasn't the only, wasn't offered the post. But indeed, obviously, things like dyslexia and that are obviously, are catered for. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry.
Look, an application that has beautiful writing, that is lucid, well organized, the cover letter and the writing sample will just go to the top of the pile automatically. It's self-evident. It's a pleasure to read it and to follow what the student is trying to say. At the same time, we have a lot of applicants for whom English is a second language, as was for me the case. Yes, academic writing plays makes a huge difference in the application process, but academic writing works not only on the technical level of the writing, but also on the conceptual level. So if somebody is trying to convey ideas, but their grammar is not 100%, or the structure of their personal statement does not follow 100% professionally, logically. But there is a sincere effort that has been made in providing as good an introductory cover letter as they can. That does, we account for that. The group that looks through the applications does not automatically reject those kind of applicants either. So, like I said, it very much has to do with the commitment to particular ideas, the effort and the passion that is driving the applicant to apply, that I think that they come through the writing, even when the writing is not 100%. And like John said, and I'm sure it's the same in Trinity and every university in Ireland, there are writing centres on campus and all kinds of supports to help graduate students, postgraduate students, either Irish or international students with their writing skills in the duration of the postgraduate degree. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think that's such an important point. And here in IADT, our Student Learning Centre and Student Experience is located over in the Carrigley building, and they're exceptional. So yeah, I think it really hones in on that idea that you're not alone in your application, even if you're kind of thinking, oh, I might apply a couple of years' time from when I graduate. Definitely get all your kind of ducks in a row, get all the information you can while you're still in your undergrad. And don't be afraid to reach out, even when you're a graduate, to people in your institution, because they're always more than happy to help. I know colleges love alumni, so they're always happy to help their current and previous students as well. But yeah, would anyone else like to hop in on that subject?
I suppose I would just say, I mean, I'd echo what John said. I think in business, to be honest with you, increasingly precision of articulation is such a key skill in business, and clear communication. So within the modules and within what we are trying to do, there's quite an emphasis on having a variety of communication modes and modes of representation. So I mean, and I suppose that incorporates all of the good principles around universal design for learning. So it's not just about the academic writing in the business context, but that's very much about the going back to the graduate attributes that John talked about earlier. We would probably be looking at slightly different than maybe other programs. So it really does depend on the program. And again, that goes back to the earlier commentary about understanding what you're applying to and what's going to be required from you when you do that application. So I think that, you know, doing that homework piece is very important.
That's great. Thank you so much. And just kind of speaking on the topic of different ways of applying in different forms of applications, would you assess applications through the recognition of prior learning mode of entry as well? Would that be a common way for people to enter your programs and for you to assess their applications? Yeah, John.
Absolutely. I think as with everybody else here as well, we're members of the National RPL project. We have dedicated recognition of prior learning officers. John, sorry. So yeah, absolutely, prior learning is something that is really important. And as you might imagine, in the business context, there's lots of people who've been working their way up in organizations, maybe setting up their own businesses over the years, who've acquired a lot of knowledge. And for us to say, oh, that's not relevant because, you know, you don't have certain, you know, qualifications or grades in a certain thing would be which is good. We've had some excellent RPL students over the years. Sorry for using the RPL thing. You can see it just trips off the tongue. It's so critical to what we do.
Thank you so much, John. That's great. Rebecca and I, Rebecca's actually the academic lead for the RPL project here in IADT. So yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And as a researching yourself, just speaking of research, I saw recognition of prior learning multiple times come up, so that's brilliant. And would anyone else maybe like to touch on that, or just through your own programs? Yeah, Laura, please.
Thank you. Yeah, similar to what John was saying as well, we would receive RPL applications, and at Smurfit we're very holistic with our applications, so no, that's absolutely fine, and with the admissions team we would help you with your application too, so you just directly contact the school. But yeah, as John was saying, work experience would count very highly towards any of our masters and our MBA programs.
That's great. Thank you so much, Therese.
Yeah, that's very much the case here as well. But I suppose, again, it depends on the audience. To those listening, if you're coming out of an undergrad at 21, you're very unlikely to fall into the category of recognition of prior learning for a master's program. You would usually have built up some significant experience, but RPL is very much a feature of, because our programs would attract a mixture of people who are maybe early to mid-career. There can be many occasions when RPL is absolutely appropriate, and there's good systems in place to ensure that they get every chance to make and again, I always think about RPL. What you're looking for is you're looking to place the student where they can swim rather than where they can sink. And that's the whole point of engaging in what sometimes can feel like a bit of a process, but it's about ensuring that when that student comes in September, October, that they take off and flourish rather than go under. And that's what the RPL process is designed to achieve.
That's great. Thank you so much. The time really does fly when you're talking about something you're interested in, because I just noticed the time there. So we might wrap up maybe with a final question, if that's okay with you. So a common chat we kind of have in my student-facing role that I'd have with students is that there's so many pathways the students can take following graduation. If you could kind of sum up why you think students should choose a postgraduate study, how would you kind of sum it up as it being a good pathway to take finishing your undergrad?
Sorry for jumping in first always, but I have done it again. Postgraduate studies there. I think a postgrad qualification is important to remember that it's not for everybody. Some people want to go straight to work, or they want to travel following their undergraduate degree, and that's fine. But just remember that when you're doing this, it's really honest now, because she mentioned, wanting to do more with her degree after in her postgrad. They're really the one real opportunity that you'll have to work on the unique contribution that you're going to make to the world with your life, to really do something that's different. Like, everything in nature is put here for a reason, according to Aristotle. So what's your unique purpose? If you do this, you'll be giving yourself dedicated space to work on yourself in the specific field that you're going to do to make a difference to yourself financially and job satisfaction, but to other people who need your skills and talents. So the travel, the work experiences, the work opportunities, they'll always be there afterwards. But if you do this for yourself when you have time, and when you have less commitments, and I'm not assuming that everybody's the same when they go into this, you'll have much more opportunities to do the work and career development, the travel afterwards. It's a critical piece of personal development. I don't know anybody who's ever regretted doing one.
That's great, John. Thank you so much. And would anyone else like to hop on, maybe as for your reason to do a postgrad? No worries if not, or even any kind of last thoughts.
I suppose I should maybe just throw in. I suspect there are disciplinary differences here. Obviously, in terms of students taking postgrads in some areas rather than others. And like Yana, in English, we find a lot of our students, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level, go in a very, 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 very diverse pathways post degree. I think one thing, just picking up on what John said, is that it is truly an immersive experience. It is an opportunity to take time to engage with something perhaps that you really love. And that's something that you can study to a far greater degree in depth and with time and with peers. And I think in that context, it can be an astonishingly important and empowering moment, I suppose, in a student's life, in a young person's life. And I think perhaps that is I suppose another reason.
That's great, Paul. Thank you so much. And Laura.
Yeah, and I suppose just to add the personal development as well. So it's not just going to your lectures and, getting a master's. There's so much more involved, even within our business school. So we've leadership programs, and there's a lot of group work, project work, working with companies. There's chance to do internships. So there's a lot more just to the learning part of the master's as well. And at our school, we do really focus on your career and what you're going to do after, and to really take that time to decide what's your next path. So yeah, I think it's a question we get asked a lot. And it's important to explore all your options as well, not just the master's, but it is a year that you can dedicate to your studies, but also your personal development as well, and gaining skill sets through your project, your group work, your leadership and communication as well. And also just the last part is just the networking. So with people in your class, you may be working with them in the future, the alumni that will be part of the school as well. So there's a lot more than just to what you'll learn as well with the master programme.
Great, thank you so much.
I would finish by saying passion and curiosity, and if you need both. The curiosity to really engage with something that you're really interested in. And it can be, as John rightly says, it can be, and Paul too alludes to it, it can be the only time you might get to actually really do that. And I would also say, don't do, the finance or the data analytics because you think there's a good job at the end as being the only reason for doing it. You need to have that curiosity and passion around the subject area that will sustain you through what are sometimes, challenging moments on the journey. So I think it's really important to have that graw, to use that Irish expression, to have a little bit of graw for the subject area that you're embarking on is very important.
That's great, Therese. Thank you so much. Marie, would you like to add anything there?
Sorry, sure, Louisa. In terms of the MBA, a lot of people choose to do it, after maybe 10 years of choosing a particular career. And it's generally for two reasons. It's either to be transformational in terms of taking them to a pathway into a different career entirely, where they can potentially use the skills that they've gained to date, but also through the skills that they and the learnings that they get on the MBA, and maybe going into more of an operational role within their company. So basically, it's either to change career potentially or to elevate their career to the C-suite, essentially. That's ultimately what most people do it for. But there is a huge emphasis on it, that what everybody else, to echo what everyone else has said, on personal development, on leadership skills, on networking, on utilising the depth of the alumni that we have in Smurfit, and I suppose to use it in a global sense, because it's not just based in Ireland. Our alumni are based all over the world, but in terms then to reiterate that when you choose to take a programme, be it the MBA or any of the masters that we've all mentioned, it's to understand why you're doing it, but to be fully engaged when you choose to do something, and not just doing it for the sake of it or to have a master's. To get the most value out of it, you need to know why you're doing it, and you need to dedicate that year, that time, as much as possible to getting the most out of it, because it's not just a financial investment, it's a personal investment, and it will stand to you during the rest of your career and your life in general afterwards, in terms of what you contribute to the world. As John said, it's not just always about you, it's about your contribution that you make overall. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, folks. And I'm just going to quickly, while we're kind of saying our goodbyes, I'm just going to pop up a quick slide of all of our presenters today, all their email addresses, so you can feel free to reach out and get in touch. And I will be also circulating some information, the kind of points that we touched on today, following the session via email. Thank you all so much. I think this was a really enriching discussion, and I think it's so beneficial to the students today and to the students who watch the recording in the future. So I really can't thank you enough. I think we've had a really broad range of opinions and experiences, and I think that really is what enriches conversations like this. And just in terms of final year matters moving on, I might shamelessly plug here if you don't mind. So tomorrow we have another postgraduate pathway chat focused on IT and psychology. So we've got some really great folks coming along to chat about the area of IT and psychology and how it could really be open to all students of all disciplines, because as we've covered today, you might end up doing a postgrad in something that you really never thought you'd do, but you've taken a liking to, and you really want to alter your direction in that respect. And then tomorrow evening we have our roadmaps from IADT alumni panel. We've got a broad range of graduates coming along to talk about what they've been up to since finishing their studies and giving their advice on what they miss most about IADT, which is probably everything, to be fair. But and also on Monday we have a thesis panel as well. So we've got some in-house experts who are going to chat about how you can craft a really good thesis, and again to demystify the kind of intimidation behind supervisor meetings and the big research word. So yeah, that's on as well. So we've got a busy space in FYMMO at the moment. But yeah, coming back to today's panel, I really wanted to thank you all so much, and thank you very much to Rebecca, who's been looking after the chat, and thank you to everyone who's been watching. So yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you again.